The Joe Rogan Experience.
Now, is there, like in the throws world, we always talk about like technique, speed is everything.
Explain to people what you're talking about when
so
you say throwers world.
So I'm one of those nerdy guys that picked the sport that's like the least paying sport of all time. So I was a hammer thrower. So it's like a shot put, steel ball, 16-pound steel ball on a 1 meter, 3 foot long wire. It's what you see on the Olympics. They spin around really fast and yell and scream and always make like the highlight reels of guys that scream.
Where did that come from? Was that a weapon at one point in time?
Yeah. So they actually, in Scotland, they would use, it was a hammer they would literally have like for agrarian society, and they have a cylindrical head on it so they could use it every side. And so that became a way to train for battle because the Scottish weren't allowed to have weapons.
Oh.
Yeah, so they would start throwing stones.
After the Braveheart days?
Yeah, or during those days. So they weren't supposed to have weapons. So they're like, F this, we're just going to take all the stuff we have and stay strong, stay ready. And then actually their stone was called the clacknart, which meant stone of strength.
What a great name.
It's a wonderful name.
That's a Viking name if I ever heard one.
Viking. So tell me how badass this is. So like each family, like the Rogan family, like you're the patriarch, right? Okay. You'd have your clacknart up on the mantle or whatever it is. So at your family outings, whatever outings those may be, all the men, very much like in Braveheart, they would go and throw it. The guy who throws the clacknart, the family stone the furthest, is kind of like the dude. Like he's like, all right, now my son has surpassed me. He's shown he's a man now.
Right.
Here's the wildest part. This gives me chills. So they would, if they went off to battle, they would take their clacknart, their stone, and on the way out of town, they would all put it in a pile, and they're called out. This is called a cairn or a cairn. So they would put it in a pile. So if they did not return to battle, they had placed their own monument to their town of their sacrifice.
Whoa.
So could you imagine? So when you go past these old towns and there's a pile, you're like, a lot of guys didn't come home.
And those piles are still there?
When I was in Scotland, they did say a lot of them are still there. I was competing when I did Highland games, Scottish Highland games. And it's wild. So like you think about it, you're like, man, you're literally kind of placing your family's stone of like, I'm going off, and if I don't show up, like...
Dude, I was in Scotland last year, and there was...
What part of Scotland are you in?
God, I wish I could remember. I'm not exact.
Up in the Highlands, like all the rural stuff?
Or another.
Aberdeen?
I went with some friends, and they took us to this place that my friend owns a property out there.
Naturally.
And when we went there was a stone circle that is way older than Stonehenge.
No way.
Yeah, and it's just sitting there.
So, a lot of stuff in Scotland's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there in front of this dude's house, and you can go and stand on it. I was like, this is crazy. And it's got like a little monument on it, but no one's stopping you from like walking around on it. And they're not big stones. They're like small stones. But this stone, they're like, I'm like, who made this? I was asking the guy that we were with. He's pretty knowledgeable. And he's like, no one knows. Wow. It's just left laying around.
Yeah, so like Scotland, there you go.
Is that it? No, that's not it, but it's kind of like that. It wasn't nearly as high. They were smaller standing stones. And it was, and there's a bunch of them like laying around. Like there's a guide stone on the ground. I'm like, how old is that?
Wow.
It's like that's probably like thousands of years old.
Wow.
But nobody knows. Like they don't know who made the stone, who put it there. It's just a guide stone. Like so, if you were on a trail through the Scottish Highlands, you would find these rocks. We're on the right place, lad. And this is fucking stone that's been there for 3,000 years or whatever. Like they don't even know how old it is. And it's just sitting there.
Isn't that so cool, though?
But it's the crazy thing. It was like across the street from this guy's house. So he's got like this normal house, and there's a little street, and then across the street from his house is this stone circle that's like, who knows how fucking old. Nope, it's not that either.
Yeah, they have like the other stones of strength there, the
Inver
Inver
stone.
stone.
Them that are older than Stonehenge in Scotland, because all three of these I pulled up.
God damn.
Maybe you were just really high. Maybe you were in actually England.
Oh, I was totally sober. Look at that image right there. How weird is that one?
Cool.
The Ring of Brodgar. How do you say that? Brodgar?
They have some sweet names over there, too.
Brodgar. The Ring of Brodgar. Like, what did they do in that ring? How many goats died in that ring?
A lot of fights.
How many fucking people got sacrificed in that ring? I mean, thousands and thousands of years ago.
It's so cool. The stones over there, like a lot of people go over, a lot of strongmen, they'll do like the stone tour. So they'll lift the Denny stones and the Inver stone. And the Inver stone, I lift that. That was in an old lady's garden.
Right? There's like a stone
it's
lifting
like a 200,
tour
it's like a 265 pound like big egg stone. And like
it's just laying around.
It's literally in this lady's garden. It's called the Inverstone.
And people go there.
People go there. And
ma'am, can I go lift your
so
rock?
it's 100% what happens.
Really?
Yeah, we were over there competing. The U.S. team. We were over there, and like all the Highland game guys were like, "Let's go check this out." And we all lifted it, and she invited us in for tea. She's like, "Well, we'll come and sign the book." And you look in the book, it's like Bill Kazmaier was here, so and so was here. You're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like the greatest strongmen in the world had come as a pilgrimage to lift this stone, and then they signed the book, and you're
That's
like,
so weird.
"This is awesome." And then across the street,
There it is.
Yeah,
right?
there, yeah. And then
How do you say that word?
we call it the Inverstone.
Invercalled stone.
Yeah.
It seems like it's almost been like honed.
Well, that's
Doesn't it seem like it was polished to that
yeah,
size?
chipped.
There you go. That one's outside.
Oh, that one actually has numbers on
Yeah,
it.
that's the one I lifted.
It says 265 pounds. Is that what it says?
Yeah, and so we lifted it, and then actually, so what happened after back in the '80s when Kazmaier was coming on the scene? You know, Bill Kazmaier, obviously, world's strongest man, kind of started the stage. He allegedly picked it up. You know, it was the man thing. If you could pick it up, he picked it up and carried it across the street and bellied it up to the bar and laid it onto the bar and had a beer.
I would be mad if that was my bar. Like,
Right?
bro,
He chipped the crap out of the
bar.
bar. It did. I was there. I was like, yeah, that's where Bill chipped it. This is badass. I'm a historian. I like that stuff. Right? So we traveled all around, lifted all the stones. It was cool. But anyway, a thrower is a person who decides to do a sport that doesn't pay a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a shot put, discus, hammer, javelin. It was all those original Olympic sports that were all weapons. And so
that'd be a good sport if you're a trans woman. To get into.
you would
dominate.
The
regular chicks wouldn't have a chance.
Oh, I'm at 48 years old. I could still throw the living crap out of a woman's implement if I wanted to. It'd have been a great move. But yeah, I was a part of the track and field. I got into it in college, kind of a weird Forrest Gump-like story, and it changed the course of my life.
Have you done lift, run, shoot yet with Cam?
I haven't done it with Cam. No, we played around and done some stuff like that at my farm. During
you should do
events.
his podcast, the Lift, Run, Shoot show.
That'd be great.
But it
Heck
makes
yeah.
you carry a rock up the fucking mountain.
I went up Pisgah with him. I haven't carried the rock, and but I'm sure you've done
It's
Pisgah.
like the Cam rock.
That's insane.
I haven't done Pisgah. I'm not doing that. Fuck out of here.
That was rough.
Yeah.
That was rough. I started running. I'm not a big cardio guy.
Not interested in going anywhere where that guy's running.
Dude, he is as advertised as a badass. Like
he's a complete psychopath.
Legit.
He's one of my best friends. He's a complete psychopath.
We all got running, and then he kind of left me, and then like he got to the top and then did his dance, and then he came back down and like, hey man, and it was very remarkable. Like he goes, all right, why do I do this all the time? He goes, if we crested this corner right now and you saw the biggest bull of your life at 70 yards, could you make the shot? And I'm like, bro, I'm looking out of my ear hole right now. Like I'm screwed. He goes, that's why I do this every day. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm tracking.